Welcome to my channel. Today is Best Top 3 Coins. Please don't skip this video. So let's get it started. The 1975 Canada 25 cents coin, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is a significant piece of Canadian decimal coinage, serving as both an everyday currency coin and a representation of Canadian history, heritage, and identity. It is part of the Canadian Quarter Series, one of the most widely circulated and recognized denominations in the country. The year 1975 is particularly important because it came during the height of Queen Elizabeth II's long reign, at a time when Canada was affirming its national identity while still highlighting its connection to the British monarchy. This coin remains a collectible item today, not for rarity but for its cultural and historical value. On the obverse side, the 1975 quarter carries the second definitive Canadian portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by the British sculptor Arnold McInobie. This effigy was first introduced in 1965 and continued on Canadian coinage until 1989. In this depiction, the Queen is shown wearing a tiara, specifically the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, one of her most iconic royal jewels. Her youthful appearance in this portrait reflects her earlier decades as monarch, conveying elegance, dignity, and authority. Around the portrait is the Latin Elizabeth II Digi Regina, Elizabeth II by the grace of God, Queen. This formal inscription reaffirms her status as Canada's sovereign within the constitutional monarchy system. The reverse side of the coin is one of Canada's most iconic designs. The caribou, a majestic animal deeply tied to Canadian wilderness and cultural identity. This design was created by Canadian artist Emmanuel Hahn, whose artwork has graced many Canadian coins. The caribou is shown in a side profile with its large branching antlers extending upward, giving the coin a sense of wild beauty and natural pride. Above the animal is the word Canada, denoting the nation of issue and the date 1975. The denomination is spelled as 25 cents. Below the caribou, this design has been a constant on Canadian quarters since 1937, making it one of the most enduring coin motifs in the country's history. In terms of physical specifications, the 1975 Canadian 25 cents coin was struck in nickel, as Canada had switched from the traditional silver composition to nickel in 1968. This change reflected both economic practicality and durability for circulation. The coin weighs 5.05 grams, has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, and features a reeded edge. These specifications have made the Canadian quarter a sturdy and reliable coin for commerce, vending, and everyday transactions. Looking at the historical context, the year 1975 fell within a decade of transformation for Canada. The country was continuing to strengthen its independent identity following the centennial celebrations of 1967. While still a constitutional monarchy with Queen Elizabeth II as head of state, Canada was also asserting its cultural uniqueness and political autonomy. The use of national symbols like the caribou on coinage highlighted this sense of Canadian pride, while the Queen's portrait reaffirmed the nation's Commonwealth ties. At the same time, the 1970s saw a rising interest in Canadian identity, multiculturalism, and sovereignty discussions, especially in Quebec. The coin therefore serves as both a tool of commerce and a snapshot of Canada's evolving self-image during this period. The mintage of the 1975 25 cents coin was very high, as these coins were produced in the tens of millions for daily circulation. This ensured that they were common in the pockets of Canadians from coast to coast. Because of this large mintage, the 1975 quarter is not considered rare in circulated grades. However, coins in mint state condition, uncirculated, or those included in official Royal Canadian Mint sets are far more desirable to collectors. Proof-like and specimen strikes from 1975 are especially valued for their sharp detail and mirror-like surfaces. In terms of collector value, the 1975 Canadian quarter is typically worth its face value in circulated condition due to its high availability. However, uncirculated examples can bring higher prices, often ranging between $2 and 10 Canadian dollars depending on grade. Proof-like or specimen set coins from 1975 can command even more, sometimes fetching $15 to 30 Canadian dollars among collectors who specialize in Canadian coinage. Coins certified by grading services such as ICCS, PCGS, or NGC are also more attractive to serious collectors. From a cultural perspective, the coin is rich in symbolism. The obverse represents a Canadian monarchy and ties to Britain, showing Elizabeth II as both a modern monarch and a continuing link to Canada's colonial past. The reverse, with the caribou, embodies the wilderness resilience and natural majesty of Canada, projecting an image of a vast, untamed, and beautiful land. For Canadians, the caribou quarter is instantly recognizable and has become a cultural symbol as much as a piece of money.in. Conclusion. The 1975 Canada 25-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II and the caribou is a significant piece of Canadian numismatic history, with its Makin portrait obverse, Han caribou reverse, nickel composition, and widespread circulation. It is both an ordinary, everyday coin and a national emblem. While it is not rare, its historical value as part of Canada's 1970s coinage and its representation of Canadian identity make it a popular piece for collectors. In the context of Elizabeth II's long reign, it is also a lasting reminder of the monarchy's role in Canadian history and of the enduring symbols that continue to define the nation. Next, the 1989 Canada 25-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is one of the standard Canadian quarters that circulated widely across the country during the late 1980s, though it was primarily a workhorse of everyday commerce. This coin holds significance in numismatics because it represents the second to last year that the Arnold Makin portrait of Queen Elizabeth II appeared on Canadian coinage. The 1989 quarter is thus both a continuation tradition and a coin that stands on the edge of transition, marking a shift in portraiture and design direction for Canada's decimal series on the obverse side. The coin depicts Queen Elizabeth II shown wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. This effigy, created by sculptor Arnold Makin OB, first appeared on Canadian coins in 1965 and remained in use until 1989, when it was replaced the following year by the more mature portrait designed by Dora de Pettery Hunt. The Makin portrait is dignified yet youthful, projecting grace and authority during the middle years of the Queen's reign. Surrounding the portrait is a Latin inscription, Elizabeth II Dei Regina, which translates to Elizabeth II by the grace of God, Queen. This inscription affirms the Queen's position as a Canadian head of state within the framework of a constitutional monarchy. The reverse side features the iconic caribou, an enduring Canadian wildlife symbol, designed by artist Emmanuel Hahn in 1937. The caribou is shown in a bold left-facing profile, its majestic antlers prominently displayed. This design has remained essentially unchanged for decades, reinforcing a sense of continuity and national identity. The word Canada appears above the caribou, with the date 1989 placed directly below it. At the bottom, the denomination is spelled as 25 cents. The caribou quarter has become one of the most recognizable and beloved Canadian coins, representing not only currency, but also the spirit of Canada's wilderness and resilience to in terms of physical specifications. The 1989 quarter is struck in nickel, a composition Canada adopted for the 25-cent piece in 1968 after discontinuing silver coinage. It weighs 5.05 grams, has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, and features a reeded edge. Its consistent size and specifications ensure compatibility with vending machines and other coin-operated devices across Canada. Nickel, being harder than silver, also provided greater durability for coins intended for heavy circulation. The historical context of the 1989 Canadian quarter is also noteworthy. The late 1980s were a period of political, cultural, and economic change for Canada. The country was approaching the constitutional debates of the early 1990s, while also celebrating growing multiculturalism and independence in its global identity. Coins of this era reflect a Canada firmly rooted in tradition, with the Queen's effigy and national symbols like the caribou, but also preparing for change. In fact, beginning in 1990, the Royal Canadian Mint introduced a new obverse portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Canadian artist Dora de Pettery Hunt, which replaced Makin's effigy. This makes the 1989 issue the final full mintage year for the Makin portrait on the quarter. Adding extra historical importance to the coined AS for mintage, the Royal Canadian Mint struck 183,446,000 circulation quarters in 1989, which was a very large reduction run. Because of this high number, the 1989 quarter is quite common in circulated grades and does not carry rarity value. These coins were produced in massive quantities to meet daily demand across Canada, ensuring that they were a staple in pocket change during that ER8IN terms of collector value. The 1989 Canadian 25 cents coin is usually worth only face value, 25 cents C80, in circulated condition due to its commonness. However, higher grade examples in mint state MS condition can command premiums. Brilliant uncirculated coins may be valued at $2.05 Canadian dollars, while proof-like and specimen strikes, sold in collector sets by the Royal Canadian Mint, are more desirable, often valued between $10 to $25 C80, depending on condition and market demand. Collectors particularly interested in portrait transitions often include the 1989 quarter as a last year type for the Mackinac verse, which adds to its historical appeal. From a cultural and symbolic perspective, the coin represents continuity in Canadian coinage. The obverse ties Canada to its constitutional monarchy under Elizabeth II, while the reverse celebrates the nation's deep ties to nature, wilderness, and wildlife. The caribou design, simple yet iconic, resonates strongly with Canadian identity, symbolizing resilience and the vast northern landscapes that define much of the country. In conclusion, the 1989 Canada 25 cents coin featuring Elizabeth II is a historically important yet common circulation coin. With its Arnold Mackinac verse portrait, Emmanuel Hahn caribou reverse nickel composition, and massive mintage, it reflects both tradition and the end of an era, as it was the final year of the Mackinac effigy before Dora de Pettery Hunt's Canadian design portrait took over in 1990. While its collector value in circulated form is modest, its symbolic importance as a bridge between two eras of Canadian coinage makes it a worthy addition to any collection of Canadian quarters or Elizabeth II numismatics. Next, the 1981 Canada 25 cents coin, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is part of Canada's long-running quarter series, which has been in circulation since the 19th century but underwent major modernization during Elizabeth II's reign. By 1981, the quarter had already become one of the most important denominations in Canadian daily life, used for everything from vending machines to public transit and small purchases. The 1981 issue is a circulation coin, struck in large quantities, but it carries both historical and symbolic value, as it reflects the design stability and national identity of Canadian coinage during the late 20th century on the obverse side. The coin features a second definitive Canadian portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by sculptor Arnold Mackinac. This effigy had been in use since 1965 and continued until 1989, marking one of the most familiar and longest-running portraits of the Queen in Canadian coinage. In this portrait, Elizabeth II is shown wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a royal heirloom known for its elegance and association with her early reign. The portrait is youthful and regal, symbolizing continuity and stability in the Canadian monarchy. Encircling the effigy is the inscription, Elizabeth II Digi Regina, which expands to Elizabeth II by the grace of God, Queen. This Latin phrase reaffirms her constitutional role as Canada's sovereign and head of state. The reverse side displays one of the most iconic and enduring images in Canadian coinage, the caribou, designed by Canadian sculptor Emmanuel Hahn in 1937. The caribou is depicted in left-facing profile with tall, branching antlers, symbolizing Canada's vast wilderness, northern identity, and natural heritage. Above the animal is the inscription Canada, while directly below it appears the year of issue 1981 at the bottom of the coin. The denomination is spelled as 25 cents. This design has remained unchanged for decades and is one of the most recognizable symbols of Canadian coinage, instantly identifying the quarter for generations of Canadians. In terms of physical specifications, the 1981 Canadian quarter was struck in nickel, as Canada had transitioned away from silver for circulating quarters in 1968. The coin weighs 5.05 grams, has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, and a thickness of approximately 1.6 millimeters. The edge is reeded, which serves both a tactile function and a measure against counterfeiting. The nickel composition ensured durability for coins in heavy circulation, making them long-lasting and resistant to wear. The historical context of the 1981 Canadian quarter is rooted in an era of both tradition and change. The early 1980s were a period of economic challenge for Canada, with high inflation and unemployment, and political debates about sovereignty, multiculturalism, and national identity. Yet, the coinage of this period continued to emphasize enduring symbols of Queen, representing Canada's ties to the monarchy and Commonwealth, and the caribou, symbolizing Canada's wilderness and independent spirit. The 1981 issue, like others of the time, was not commemorative but rather practical, serving as a stable tool of daily commerce in an era of transition. Regarding mintage, the Royal Canadian Mint produced an enormous number of 25-cent coins in 1981, 159,085,000 pieces, ensuring they were plentiful in circulation because of this high output. The 1981 quarter is not considered rare, and examples remain easy to find today in circulated condition. However, coins struck to proof-like or specimen quality in mint sets are much scarcer and are sought after by collectors for their sharper details and mirror-like surfaces. From a collector's perspective, the 1981 quarter has modest value in circulated condition, usually trading at face value, 0 Canadian dollars and 25 cents. Higher-grade examples in mint state condition can be worth $2 to 5 Canadian dollars, while proof-like and specimen coins from mint sets may fetch between $10 and 20 Canadian dollars, depending on condition and collector. Demand. Coins certified by grading services like ICCS, PGS, or NGC are of particular interest to serious collectors, especially in grades above MS60, for the cultural symbolism of the coin lies in its dual representation of Canadian identity. The obverse ties the nation to its monarchy under Queen Elizabeth II, reflecting Canada's role in the Commonwealth and its constitutional system. The reverse emphasizes a country's deep connection to nature and wilderness through the image of the caribou, an animal long associated with Canada's northern landscape and survival traditions. For many Canadians, the caribou quarter was more than just a coin. It was a daily reminder of the nation's identity, carried in pockets and used in everyday exchanges. In conclusion, the 1981 Canada 25-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II and the caribou is a historically important yet common issue of Canadian decimal coinage. With its Arnold Mackin obverse, Emmanuel Hahn reverse, nickel composition, and massive mintage, it is representative of stability in Canadian coinage during the late 20th century. While not rare, it holds enduring collectible value as part of Canada's quarter series, and its symbolism continues to resonate as a reflection of both monarchy and wilderness. For collectors, it remains an essential piece in building a complete set of Canadian quarters from the reign of Elizabeth II. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.